Hey everyone, I was doing some cleaning in the basement. I came across an old letter that I received about 10 years ago from the Deutsche Bahn, which is a German national railway company. It brings up a cool story about my Audi S4 that I think is pretty unique. Many enthusiasts out there, they've had the opportunity to do track days, autocross, drag racing, all the usual stuff. But how many guys out there can say they've challenged the Deutsche Bahn to a race and they actually responded to it? So, as some of you know, I lived in Germany from 2004 to 2007. I accepted a resident engineer position with the company I was working for at the time, and they relocated me to Cologne, Germany, which included shipping my 2001 Audi S4 over for me so I could keep it while I was over there. For those of you that don't know much about Germany, they have a very well-developed rail system connecting all of their major cities with high-speed trains called the Intercity-Express, or ICE for short. The highest performing variant of the ICE series is the ICE-III, which is about 11,000 horsepower, and they regularly run up to 300 kilometers an hour, about 186 miles an hour on select high-speed lines within Germany. The train itself has a max design speed of 330 kilometers per hour or 205 miles per hour, but there aren't any rail lines within Germany itself that are capable of handling that kind of speed. So typically they run between about 140 and 185 miles an hour depending on the line. Anyway, there are a few autobahn routes where the track runs directly parallel to the autobahn. And it's not unusual that you're driving along down the autobahn, especially on a route that I regularly traveled between Cologne and Frankfurt. And you're going a good clip down the road. I typically go 125 or so in my diesel Golf, and I'd look over to my right, and you'd see this big white train just fly by you like you're standing still, and that thing is going 185 miles an hour, 300 kilometers per hour. So it's pretty awesome when that happens, and every time it happened to my Golf, I'm thinking, you know what, I think I could keep up with that thing in my S4. So that brings about an interesting challenge. My tuned S4 would also be able to do 186 miles an hour, 300 kilometers per hour in 6th gear. But obviously on the road I'd have traffic to contend with, construction zones and whatnot. The train has a straight shot, but the train also has to make a few stops along the way between Cologne and Frankfurt. So I was wondering to myself, would I be able to keep up with this thing? So my girlfriend at the time, she's now my wife, she had a few friends that worked over at the Deutsche Bahn, and one day she just mentioned to him, my boyfriend, he's got a pretty fast car. He told me once he thinks that it could be the ICE train from Cologne to Frankfurt, and that's about a 115-mile trip. With the stops and everything, the ICE does it in just over an hour. I think an hour and 7 minutes is typical. And the guys at the Deutsche Bahn, they're pretty proud of their trains. They looked at her, and of course they said, "Nein, nicht möglich!" They didn't think it was possible that I could beat them. So she told them that. But one day out of the blue, I received a letter from the Deutsche Bahn. So I found that in the basement. Actually went and framed it. Here you go. I received this letter from the Deutsche Bahn, and totally unexpected. They didn't spell my name right, but I think you're gonna get the message. I'll read it to you briefly in German and explain what it means. Sehr geehrter Herr Ostberg, wir freuen uns, Ihnen heute eine kleine Überraschung, die für Sie erregend würde, möglich zu machen. Durch Frau, meine Freundin, haben wir erfahren, dass Sie Ihrem Auto einmal Konkurrenz mit einem unserer schnellsten Züge machen wollen. Deshalb bieten wir Ihnen die Möglichkeiten einer Mitfahrt in dem Vorstand des ICEs from Cologne to Frankfurt an. Mit freundlichen Grüßen und besten Wünschen, die Deutsche Bahn Fernverkehr AG. So, that translates to they're very happy to present me with a small surprise. They heard from my girlfriend that I'd like to race their fastest train with my car, and because of this, they want to invite me on a trip in the front cabin with the driver of the train from Cologne to Frankfurt. So, at first, I kind of thought it was a joke. It's like, they're going to invite me in the train? What's going on with this? But no, it was totally legit, and I was super excited about this. I guess they don't really do this. You can't call them up and ask to do this. But I don't know who my girlfriend talked to, but somehow she hooked me up with this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, or they thought it was something funny that they do internally. I don't know. So when the day finally arrived that I was going to get my ride in the ICE train, we showed up at the train station, and they took a little time to show us around the train. I talked to the driver. He was a younger guy, super friendly. He showed me all the controls, how everything works, all of the different systems he monitors, all the safeguards the train has, and then we pulled it away from the station. So it was an amazing drive. It went by pretty quick, of course. But the highlight of the trip was totally unexpected. They, from one of the stops, they actually let me drive the train out of the station, which was totally awesome. Once you're up to speed, this thing is just amazing. I mean, the biggest thing that stands out to you is how quiet and smooth the ride is. The acceleration isn't crazy. I mean, this thing weighs like 450 tons, and railroad tracks, they don't have a lot of traction either, so it doesn't accelerate very quickly, but once you're up to speed, I mean, the thing just moves. So that was amazing. Now certainly, you know, barroom discussion, anytime anybody asks, hey, what's the most powerful vehicle you've ever driven, I can just throw out there, yeah, I drove this thing once with like 11,000 horsepower. No big. Just a few times you really get a sense of the speed that this thing has, especially if you're going, you know, there's usually two tracks in parallel, and there's opportunities or there's situations where you're going down one track at 185 miles an hour and there's another train on the track right next to you coming at you, and you cross each other with a closing speed at almost 400 miles an hour. You definitely feel the speed then, and certainly when we rolled next to the autobahn, you could see we're just passing the traffic. You know, it was pretty crazy, and through the tunnels was a lot of fun too. So in the end, I never did get to race them in my S4. Traffic and everything, it probably couldn't be done reasonably anyway. It'd have to be done at night. And the locomotive engineer, he said, yeah, we'd beat you anyway. I think I could still have a shot if I had a good, you know, had some decent traffic. But the whole discussion or the whole thing led to a really cool experience, once in a lifetime opportunity, and certainly a story that I'll never forget. So in light of all that, who do you guys think would win? You think I'd be able to beat a train with my S4? Sounds like a Top Gear kind of story, but maybe someday I'll live in Germany again and get the opportunity to give it a shot. But maybe their trains will be faster by then. I don't know.